Last night, history was made. We are seeing the beginning of the end of Disney. Nintendo Pictures has produced their first ever short, which is a Pikmin themed short about a mom and her child. And it's cute, it's based, it's incredible. And more than anything, it's something that Disney themselves can't make because Disney is overrun by communists. They hate families, they hate children, and everything that they do kind of seeps into their work. And that's why they're so self indulgent. It's why they don't produce anything new, fresh, exciting, original. It's because they are stuck in the past, can't grow and evolve, and are desperate to try to bring multiculturalism into America. Disney is a complete failure and a clear demonstration of how the woke ideology is going to make you broke. With this animation, this short 3.5 minute demonstration, Nintendo has showcased exactly how they are going to dominate Disney with their brand of Nintendo animations. They will utilize characters in unique, original ways. They will create family oriented content, and they will have warm, inviting, good animation. None of that cheap, like gritty looking stuff like we got with Lightyear or with like, any of these other like recent Disney films. Like, we're at the point now where Nintendo, because of all the work they've done, they even have former Pixar staff working for them. They are in a position where they can produce better looking films than what Pixar is putting out. And going by the Mario movies budget, they can do so at a much lower price. I don't think the masses are prepared for about what's going to happen when Nintendo finally starts producing more movies, because the Mario movie sequel is going to be a success. The Donkey Kong movie, the Zelda movie, like all of these, I think have a good shot at like becoming some of the highest grossing films ever made. And we're going to have to see like how that plays out. Because I have like been saying for a while now that I expect the Legend of Zelda movie in particular to outperform all of the Lord of the Rings movies, which will make it the highest grossing fantasy film ever, which will make it this huge cultural phenomenon, and it'll kind of create this. It won't be possible to write off and ignore Zelda the way that the industry at large has been for the past like 40 years. It's the biggest fantasy brand on the world in the world now. It's bigger than D&D. It's bigger than like, all this slop that people put out like, Lord of the Rings. Like Zelda's amazing. Like nothing really comes close to it in that genre, and yet we are supposed to believe that the Zelda movie isn't some huge deal, right? That the Mario movie wasn't a huge deal, that like the Donkey Kong movie won't be and they are eventually going to break out like past those films. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't really prepared for, in that in theory, Nintendo could make all kinds of niche films targeted to all sorts of different audiences. They could produce a Pikmin movie. They could produce an Animal Crossing movie. They could do a Metroid movie. They could do Fire Emblem. They could do Advance Wars. Like they could do anything. And I think they have demonstrated that they have over the past 40 years built up a far bigger, a far more versatile library of characters than Disney ever has. Simply looking at Mario versus Mickey Mouse, Mario has stayed influential and popular worldwide, the face of video games for the past 40 years. While Mickey Mouse has had a really weird history of like being this like character that Walt Disney was obsessed with, even though the staff and audiences hated him for being boring, and essentially kind of became a corporate mascot with no real success stories to his name. What Mickey Mouse movie have you seen in the past 80 years? Right. Meanwhile, Mario is like, the Mario movie is already like the 15th or 16th highest grossing film ever made. It's like, this huge cultural phenomenon, and it's simply going to get bigger from here. Minecraft didn't touch it. Uh, like none of these Disney films, like it outgrossed every Disney film except for like I believe like Frozen 1 and 2, which are like the highest grossing films they've ever put out. No, 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 no. It was the Lion King remake and Frozen 2. Yeah. So the Mario movie was already a huge success story, and like it's simply going to grow from here. And without the barrier of entry of owning a Nintendo console, people will just go to the theater, realize how big of a brand Nintendo is now, and then they'll just go out and buy Nintendo consoles. There will be no gaslighting people into thinking Nintendo is this perpetually failing company when they're constantly putting out films that are number one at the box office and some of the highest grossing films ever made. The film industry like fought tooth and nail to try and downplay the Mario movie, and like I think by the time we get a third one, like it's going to be very clear that these films are not only here to stay, but they're going to continue indefinitely. The fact that Donkey Kong is going to get a high quality, successful spin-off, after the Mario movie sequel is something that should be scaring the film industry, because the age of the video game adaptation is here, replacing the tired, dull, derivative superhero film genre. And it seems like, in spite of the industry's best efforts to push Castlevania or Sonic, like gamers and film goers are overwhelmingly going to be going to the Nintendo films because they are going to be exceedingly high quality. They are going to be far better than what anyone else is putting out, and they're going to be very much unlike what you get out of the video games. I do think this is a very underrated aspect of the Mario film, actually, in that movie, we see a bunch of things that we would never ever have seen in the actual game. In regards to like the setup, the presentation, like like the cameos from other characters. Like it it definitely has its own unique vibe that's very appealing, not just to longtime fans, but to audiences who have never played a Mario game before. And I think that is going to be a very, very difficult, almost impossible thing for the film industry to continue to downplay. I have sat and watched like Angry Joe seethe about the Mario film for years now. And I'm very curious as to how people like him, who have spent like so much time trying to make like Warhammer into a thing and The Witcher, like I really wonder how this guy is going to act when he realizes that like Nintendo is now bigger than pretty much everything that he's been shilling for over the past several years. Angry Joe and people like him have spent a lot of time backing the wrong horse. They have no idea how successful Nintendo is. They have no idea how good the games are. They have no idea how popular they are. Like, and they are going to be completely blindsided by the success of the Super Mario Galaxy movie and the Zelda film. And it is going to be something glorious to witness. I am very much looking forward to the coping and seething from the community when these things like finally usurp all of the best things ever that they've been hyping up over the past 30 years, downplaying every single little thing that Nintendo puts out in order to prop up this lie that Warhammer 40K is cool and badass. It's just it's disgusting. And I'll be glad when like we finally start like when the entertainment industry has to kneel to Nintendo, because, considering woke is on the way out, like it's very possible that, considering Nintendo never has gone woke, that they are going to be the major player in like the cultural revolution when it comes to like more conservative values in media and the like of that. The Mario movie was already pretty based, and we might see more of that with the Zelda film and with Super Mario Galaxy. We'll see. But like, it's definitely better than what Marvel's doing. It's definitely better than like The Witcher. Like I'm just so tired of hearing about these brands over and over and over again. Or like, hearing about these lies, like, oh, Nintendo is hiring Hunter Schafer to play Zelda. Like, come on. These are clearly AstroTurf campaigns to try and like get people to not be enthusiastic about the Nintendo films. And in the long run, it is just going to completely collapse. Like, I am sick and tired of hearing about this. So, like, how is this going to end? Like, what is this going to result in? This should, I hope, kind of bring about the age that I've been looking forward to my entire life. The point in time where people can go out, say they like Nintendo, and not be harassed for it. That's something that, I had to deal with growing up. It's something I'm sure other fans have had to deal with. But I have been sick of people attacking Nintendo and its fans for decades. It's something that like wore out its welcome even in like the Sega Genesis era. Like even like I'm sure like even the boomers, in the 80s, like they religiously hated Nintendo. Like I'm sure there was this big push to like downplay this brand. Like we've seen it happen and slowly start falling apart. Like I think when Nintendo beats out Disney and becomes bigger than they are, like there just isn't going to be any denying what's the reality of the situation is that Nintendo is the better company. They put out better products, they make the best games, the best films, like the best merchandise, the best everything. And it's just impossible for me to really take any assertions to the contrary seriously. Cause like what exactly are you gonna fall back on? Like crying about like Thor Ragnarok, like please. Like nobody even remembers that movie. like after all this time. Like the Mario movie, I think, is already eclipsed like pretty much every Marvel film in relevancy. Just look how like irrelevant Avengers is now. Like the Mario movie, I think, is going to be something that's going to be watched and enjoyed for decades, honestly. And we are going to continue and see the film franchise expand and grow while Disney just sits there and just remakes Toy Story all day. They're talking about Toy Story 5 now. It to me, I just have this very strong feeling that Disney is a stagnant company. They can't grow, they can't evolve, they can't acquire. They're in the same position EA is actually, if you think about it. Because if you think about it, like EA's decline began when it started acquiring all these companies, did nothing with them, and then just kind of had this like long, decade-long period of just like stagnancy, and then they just kind of collapsed. Like Disney has done the same thing. Like, I think people are going to be shocked when the Disney adults start dying and like suddenly there are no younger fans. People always like complain about Nintendo being targeted towards baby games, but what you don't understand is when you do that, you're constantly bringing in younger fans, like you do not ever try and target a man-child demographic because they are going to die off eventually. So that's kind of my take on this. Like Disney's done, honestly. Like they're just never going to recover from this. Like Nintendo's coming for them. They're going to eat their lunch. And it is going to be remarkable seeing like a high profile like Disney remake or sequel get outperformed by a brand new exciting Nintendo movie. I don't know if anybody is going to be able to downplay like the fact that Nintendo is outperforming Disney's classics at this point. It is going to be incredibly exciting to see.